The skies over Britain in the summer of 1940 appeared peaceful. Soft white clouds hung low above the southern coast, as if unaware that beneath their calm shadows, the world was holding its breath. Europe had fallen one by one to Germany, and now Britain, a stubborn island nation, stood as the last line of defense in Western Europe. At the RAF base in Biggin Hill, young pilots prepared. Some were not even 20 years old, yet their faces held the resolve of seasoned veterans. Spitfires and Hurricanes hummed on the runway, their engines vibrating gently, sensing the tension in the air. That day, British radar captured something colossal, a massive wave of German bombers, escorted by Messerschmitt 109 fighters, a strike capable of wiping Britain from the map. And so, the largest air battle in history was about to begin. A long, piercing siren shattered the air. Pilots sprinted, not walked, not jogged, but sprinted with all their strength toward their aircraft. Captain William Hawthorne, one of the youngest in his squadron, felt his heart pound wildly. But inside the cockpit, his hands and mind transformed into instruments of calm precision. He pulled down the Spitfire's canopy, tightened his harness, and took a deep breath. Squadron Blue Leader, ready for takeoff. Simple words, yet that day they felt like an oath. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine roared, the vibration shooting from his legs to the top of his head. The aircraft surged forward, wheels hammering the runway, then lifting. In seconds, dozens of RAF fighters climbed in zigzag formations toward the southern horizon. In the distance, sunlight glinted off the wings of hundreds of German aircraft, moving like a swarm of metallic birds. This was not just a battle. This was a fight for survival. Bandits at 11 o'clock, bomber formation, high altitude. The call boomed through the radio. Instantly, the RAF formation shifted from defensive posture to angled assault. At 5,000 meters, Heinkel and Dornier bombers pushed steadily forward, flanked by agile Messerschmitt 109s circling like wolves guarding their pack. William saw the sight like a moving wall of steel, one that threatened to flatten Britain entirely. Blue Squadron, attack the bombers. Red Squadron, intercept fighters. Spitfires and Hurricanes dove from above. RAF's classic tactic. Altitude advantage made the first strike lethally effective. They dropped like lightning. Wind screamed wildly around their cockpits. Speed indicators surged into the red. Then the first explosion bloomed. Thompson's Hurricane clipped the left wing of a Heinkel. Flames burst outward, metal shards scattering into the sky. The air battle had officially begun. Messerschmitt 109s surged from the right, closing the RAF's attack routes. They moved like predators, ensuring no prey escaped. William yanked his control stick and rolled sharply left. Gravity crushed his chest. His vision trembled, but he held the maneuver. Cannon fire streaked past his wing. A 109 tailed him tightly, dangerously close. William dove straight toward the sea, then pulled back hard, sending the Spitfire soaring upward in a brutal climb. Blood rushed to his legs, his vision dimmed, but the maneuver worked. The 109 overshot, losing sight of him. Now William was behind it. He fired a controlled burst. The machine guns flashed, bullets tearing into the German fighter's tail. Smoke erupted. The 109 spun wildly, disappearing beneath the clouds. Around him, dozens of planes rolled, climbed, dove, and fired in a chaotic yet deadly rhythm. white clouds shifted into turbulent fortresses filled with smoke trails, tracer fire, and violent maneuvers. The skies over Britain had become the greatest aerial arena the world had ever seen. Despite the intense dogfights, the German bombers pressed forward, heading for their targets, engine factories and southern airfields. Heinkels dropped altitude, their bomb bay doors opened, revealing rows of bombs ready to fall. RAF pilots pushed desperately through the fighter screen to stop them. Harris, in his Hurricane, sliced into the bombers from the left. His guns tore into the cockpit of a Heinkel. The aircraft lurched, nearly colliding with another bomber before exploding midair. But several bombers slipped through, continuing toward Britain's shores. On the ground, civilians watched the massive silhouettes above them, engines thunderous with tiny dark shapes descending slowly, deadly bombs. The battle in the sky echoed far below. William regrouped with his squadron over Dover. They had lost 3 aircraft, but the Luftwaffe had lost far more. Bombers turning back! They're retreating! Cheers erupted faintly over the radio. But there was no time to celebrate. The remaining German fighters began retreating, and the RAF gave chase to ensure they wouldn't return with greater numbers the next day. At the edge of the English Channel, Spitfires and 109s clashed once more in fast, brutal duels. William tailed a fleeing 109. They weaved like 2 falcons competing for the same sky. The German pilot attempted a sharp trap maneuver, but William anticipated it. He cut across the path and fired a short, precise burst into the enemy's engine. Flames erupted. The German pilot ejected moments before the aircraft spiraled downward. The battle slowly faded. The southern sky returned to blue, though still scarred with smoke, drifting debris, and falling metal. RAF pilots returned to base. Their aircraft were riddled with holes, wings torn, and engines barely holding together. On the ground, mechanics and officers waited. There were cheers, but also silence. Anxiously counting the planes that returned and planes that did not. William stepped out of his cockpit on shaking knees. He noticed the empty slot belonging to Petty Officer Collins, his closest friend. No word yet whether he survived or fell. Victory that day felt enormous, but its cost weighed heavily. During the night briefing, the squadron commander spoke in a somber tone. "You're not just pilots. You are this nation's final shield. As long as you fly, Britain lives." No cheers followed. Only the realization that tomorrow they would return to the same skies, facing the same dangers. The battle that history would call the Battle of Britain lasted for months. Every day, hundreds of aircraft clashed in open skies, and every day, Britain survived a little longer. Luftwaffe losses mounted until their massive invasion plan, Operation Sea Lion, was abandoned. The world later called the RAF pilots the Few, a small number with courage beyond measure. William and his squadron were not superheroes. They were young men who simply refused to retreat even when an entire continent had fallen. And in that golden summer, above the drifting clouds of England, they proved that sometimes the fate of a nation can rest on the wings of a few brave souls. The skies of Britain were never the same after that day. But one truth remained. As long as the Spitfire and Hurricane flew, hope flew with them.
Sometimes I still hear the engines, feel the shake of the wings. Hard to believe the sun ever set on that day.